criminalized. Homeowners caught with occupied basements can get fined up to $10,000 in addition with a daily fine. Tenants in basement apartments, if caught by the Department of Buildings, are right away evicted by the city. While we had an eviction moratorium during the pandemic, our basement apartment tenants did not. Just think about that. Imagine being in the middle of the pandemic, you've lost your job, and now the city is forcing you to leave the only home that you know. How are we expecting folks to shelter in place to quarantine if we're taking their homes away from them? Basement tenants are also ripe for harassment due to the illegality of occupying the unit. They fear going to court lest they out themselves as basement tenants and then have the city try to evict them. Legalizing basements is an opportunity to create more housing in the communities that need it. It's an opportunity to ensure that our neighbors can continue to live in the communities that they call home. It's an opportunity for homeowners to make an extra income and afford their mortgages. It's an opportunity to prevent more foreclosure and more evictions. And it's an opportunity for us to bring equity once and for all to the housing market. We were excited to work with our partners at Cypress Hills, local elected officials, and the local East New York community to help pass the East New York Basement Pilot Program, which for the first time brought a sense of legalized basements into the community. But by defunding the program during the pandemic, it showed us that we need to look beyond just pilots and temporary fixes. We need robust change to the housing code citywide in order to ensure that basements are legalized in a safe and secure manner. Let me be clear, safety is our priority, as I'm sure it's the city's. All construction of new apartments and units brings risk, and we want to ensure that risk is mitigated like technologies such as sprinkler systems and fireproofing doors, but we will not let this be an excuse to continue to undermine the efforts of basement legalization. With your help, we can achieve this possibility. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Ms. McIntosh, a homeowner in East New York, who is going to speak a little bit about her experience. Go ahead, Ms. McIntosh.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning. Yes, Ms. McIntosh here. I'm so delighted to be a part of this meeting. Also delighted to be living in East New York as a homeowner. And I'm glad that this initiative have been taking place where homeowners will be considered lawmakers will be considerate of homeowners and see how important it is to help with the legalizing of the basement, because for so many things, especially now that the pandemic is widespread and there are so many people who need shelter. It can bring shelter for the homeless, and also it's how the homeowner bring in income and also allow your house to become a tree family. Because of what's going on in East New York, young people are trying to go away. So if we are able to allow basement to be legalized, you'll have more young people or more homeowners. People will be attracted to the community because of that, because at least they don't have to worry about their mortgage, how their mortgage is going to be paid. So I'm excited about what we're trying to do, what we're trying to achieve from allowing the basement to become legal, because it's needed. It's something that is very important. It's something that has been looked at, and we need to continue to look at it, and so that it goes through, and to allow happiness for homeowners and for people who are looking. People like I heard you said that you're living in a basement right now. Many of us are coming from there. I used to be living in a basement before, 1 bedroom basement. There was 2 bedrooms down there. And that's where most of us who come from the island are immigrants here. That's where we start from. So it would be a very good idea for for us to go through. We came this far by faith, and I am excited about what's going on. And I'm praying and hoping that that everyone in leadership who is working to allow this to become effective, that the bill will pass, and that the money that we need to go through with this, that people will be considerate of it and see how important it is for people out there. We're dealing with lives, we're dealing with homelessness, because we're going to be renting it to people who need homes. People who do not have money to buy a house or to rent an expensive apartment. So we're talking about East New York, we're talking about the epidemic that is widespread right now.
Thank you so much, Ms. McIntosh. It's really important for us to hear from homeowners just like you. At this point, I'd want to turn it over to Roxana Ali, a homeowner out of South Ozone Park.
Thank you, Jakpreet. Good morning, everyone. I want to firstly thank Chhaya CDC and the BASE campaign for providing this space for residents like myself and Ms. McIntosh to express our sentiments on legalizing basements. My name is Roxana Ali. I'm a resident of Queens. I live in City Council District 32, Ozone Park, which is served by the community boards 9 and 10, home to many essential workers, our heroes during this pandemic. While researching the Department of Buildings complaint statistics, I found that my community boards were listed by the highest number of illegal conversion complaints from 2010 to 2018 in the entire city. My working class, hardworking neighbors, friends, and family are most adversely impacted by the lack of a pathway to legalizing basements. On a more personal level, my parents are homeowners. My dad retired from his union job after 40 years due to health issues and is on a fixed income. Legalizing the renting out of their basement would be an immense help for them to make ends meet. A city program that could provide financing for folks like my parents, and many others to do so would be helpful. With New Yorkers voting in their next city council this year, I'm really excited to see how they will support the BASE campaign and advance legalizing basements across the city to support hardworking residents like my neighbors and loved ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Roxana. We really appreciate you and Ms. McIntosh coming on to speak about your experiences. And with this campaign, we want to make sure we're centering the voices of those who have been most impacted by the current laws. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Annetta once again.
Oh, my apologies, I was on mute. Thank you, Jakpreet. And I also want to echo my thanks to the community members who have been so key to this campaign. I want to now take this moment to introduce our council member, Adrienne Adams, who is been a tremendous supporter and partner of Chhaya in everything we are doing in her district, and also who is become an incredible fierce advocate for the basement legalization campaign. We are so incredibly grateful for your support and your leadership, and feel really confident that this is going to happen now with you involved. So the floor is yours, Councilmember Adams. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Annetta. Good morning. It's always great to see my partners at Chhaya. Good morning, Jakpreet. Good morning, Will, and everyone else that is here for this really, really important meeting this morning. I'm so happy to once again join my partners at Chhaya to present the BASE blueprint for basement apartments. I am Councilmember Adrienne Adams, and I do represent District 28, sections of Richmond Hill and South Ozone Park, sections of the community that Roxana just spoke about so eloquently. I am proud to continue to work and to champion the necessity for us to once and for all rubber stamp the basement apartments. And, you know, over the last year, our city has faced many fiscal challenges due to the pandemic. Those challenges are going to continue for the foreseeable future. With the risk of increased foreclosure, overcrowding, and homelessness, we can't discontinue a program that stands to address all of these issues. Throughout this pandemic, many homeowners are struggling to make payments, and homelessness continues to escalate in New York City. The basement apartment program is an opportunity for our city to increase affordable housing to those who need it. The need for affordable housing in our city has never, ever been greater. And the basement pilot program was an avenue to unlock the affordable housing that we desperately need. Cities like London, Toronto, and San Francisco have already embraced similar programs to increase rental housing. And let's be honest, everyone, let's be honest, tenants have been living in basement apartments for years and years and years and years and years. It's a simple way to help homeowners make ends meet and provide legal, safe, habitable, and affordable rental units. It's critical that we continue to address the affordability crisis in our city, and I am fully committed to continue to champion this solution in the New York City Council. It's a sensible solution, it's a needed solution, and I'm going to do my part to make sure that it happens. Thank you again for inviting me to join you, and have a wonderful program. I'm going to sit back and listen.
Wonderful. Thank you again for being here, Councilmember Adams. And now I would like to introduce State Assembly Harvey Epstein, who another fierce advocate and longtime friend and supporter of Chhaya. We are so happy that you are now, or you have been in government, but your passion for this work certainly has continued, and really look forward to your continued partnership to do whatever is needed at the state level to make this a reality, our vision a reality. So State Assembly Member Epstein.
Welcome. Good morning, Annetta, and thank you for all your work. And thank you, Councilwoman Adams, for all your efforts on the city level. This has been an issue. I can't tell people how long I've been working on this. Maybe, 10, 15 years at this point. So it's been a long time coming. We were able to get a pilot project in East New York, 5 years ago. But this struggle for hundreds of thousands of New Yorkers who are living in illegal basement apartments, Jack said earlier, it's fear, it's anxiety, it's people are not sure where they're going to be. And these are people, this is their home, this is where they've lived, this is their community. I'm just scared that one night someone will come to their door and kick them out of their home, put them on the streets with their children. It's beyond what we as New Yorkers should stand for. So I applaud the council member for advancing this on the city level. And on the state level, we are working to do a comprehensive plan along with amazing advocates like we see on this Zoom, and homeowners and renters as well, to say we need not just a New York City plan, but we need a statewide plan to deal with these apartments. We need a path to legalization. We need to understand that people are there. We need to support those families that are there and have a plan that will include opportunities for long-term affordable housing. Because let's be clear, that's what this is. These basement apartments are affordable housing for the tenants. They're sources of income for the small property owner. They are what so many New Yorkers rely on, so many immigrant New Yorkers rely on. I'm excited that we're moving forward on this city, and I encourage every mayoral candidate and every city elected official to support this effort, while I and my Assembly and Senate colleagues will advance a statewide effort to make opportunities in New York City easier to advance the legalization of basement apartments. I see my good friend and colleague, Mr. Anderson, one of our newest Assembly members who's joined this Zoom as well. Khalil is a fighter, and he's a friend. He's an ally, and he will stand with us in this move. So I'm glad that he's joining us today. As we roll out our statewide plan, we will push the issues that I know this coalition in the base apartment campaign focuses on, and we will hopefully make a statewide impact that will ensure that all of us together will have so many units of affordable housing in this moment of crisis. We need these units more than ever. Thank you all for letting me be here today.
Thank you so much, Assembly Member, and thank you so much, Councilmember Adams. It's amazing to have both of you here with us to join us in this fight. And we know that both of you are going to be great champions for this cause and already great champions for this cause. We'll be hearing from other elected officials shortly, but at this point, I'd like to turn it over to our base coalition to speak and finally, the whole reason that we're here today, unveil the blueprint. So first, I'd like to turn it over to Ryan Chavez of Cypress Hills LDC.
Well, thank you all very much for joining us this morning. My name is Ryan Chavez, and I direct the basement apartment conversion pilot program for Cypress Hills Local Development Corporation. This pilot was launched 2 years ago in East New York with the goal of converting 40 basements and cellars into formal and affordable rental units. The program was a commitment made by this administration to this community during the contentious rezoning process 5 years ago. It promised to, one, provide low and moderate income homeowners with the technical and financial assistance to navigate the conversion process, ultimately affording them the stable source of additional monthly income. Two, create or preserve rent-regulated housing in a neighborhood facing mounting displacement pressures. And three, deliver the city, policymakers, and advocates important lessons about the conversion process to make it easier to do this type of program in other communities in the future. However, as part of the COVID-19 related budget cuts last spring, the city eliminated funding for the pilot program. Since then, the program has been able to secure alternative funds to keep a scaled back pilot moving forward through fiscal year 2021. But it is vital that the city commits to funding this program in fiscal year 2022. So we are calling on the city to allot the $250,000 that the pilot program requires to finish its important work and keep the city's promise to the East New York community. Next, our city is in a crisis without precedent in our lifetimes. The pandemic's impacts have devastated both lives and livelihoods, predominantly in low-income, working-class, and middle-income communities. We need urgent and innovative action to shore up home ownership in the city while also providing critically needed affordable housing. Just 1 year ago, as part of his State of the City, Mayor de Blasio announced plans for a citywide basement conversion program. He said at the time, quote, "The key to unlocking more housing for New Yorkers is just below our feet," unquote. That was true then, and that is true now. We are calling on the city to include a line item in the FY22 budget to establish a citywide basements conversion program. This needs to include sufficient funding for affordable and forgivable loans for homeowners, technical assistance, and resources for CBOs to partner with the city in helping their communities through this process. A citywide basements conversion program was good housing policy 1 year ago. Today, it is imperative. Finally, all too often, we see bold policies and plans announced, only to be shelved by subsequent administrations or city councils. This results in these ideas never developing the institutional knowledge and the public support required for long-term success. So, we are calling on this administration, this city council, and all New Yorkers aspiring to serve in those roles in the future to commit to making basement conversions a permanent fixture for New York. That means putting the goal of identifying 200,000 potentially eligible participants at the center of any housing platform. Our city's leaders, both current and prospective, must recognize and state loudly and clearly that long-term relief for our homeowners and tenants alike lies just below our feet. Thank you.
Thank you, Ryan. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Rebecca Morris with Pratt.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for being here. My name is Rebecca Morris. I'm from the Pratt Center for Community Development. I'm going to walk through the 3 main zoning and building code updates that we believe necessary to ensure a successful citywide basement legalization program. It should be noted that the current law governing the pilot in East New York has done a good job of creating a regulatory framework that ensures safe housing. However, we have found that there are still a few significant barriers for interested homeowners that we think could be solved without creating unsafe living spaces, and a few areas we want to call out to ensure the provisions are kept in a citywide program. The first is legalized seller conversions. Current New York City building code does not allow for the conversion of cellars into habitable units, even when they may be mere inches shy of being officially considered a basement. So basements are legally defined as more than 50% above curb, while cellars are more than 50% below curb. The East New York pilot smartly added cellar conversions to the local law and added seller-specific safety requirements, such as the requirement of 2 egress doors versus 1 required for basements. We strongly believe that cellars must be included in any citywide basement program, just as they are in the pilot. We also would like to see converted cellars be exempted from a building's floor area ratio calculation, which is a zoning rule that governs density and bulk. Uninhabited cellars are not included in a building's FAR, but uninhabited basements are. Under the current East New York model, when a cellar is converted, it is then added to the building's FAR and can potentially put a building out of compliance with zoning, even when the cellar is not adding to the actual bulk of the building. Meanwhile, converted basements do not add any more to the FAR because it's already included. Forcing cellar conversions to be added to the FAR will have a huge limiting effect on potential units. Our analysis has found that if FAR is still required for cellars, there are 71,000 that could be eligible, which is a good number. But if FAR is exempted, that number skyrockets to over 330,000. It's a lot of housing units. A second area that needs to be fixed is parking restrictions. Residential zoning rules mandate that parking is provided for a specific percent of the units in the building. The mandatory amount of parking spaces is dependent on the zoning designation of the property. So some require 2/3 of the units to have a spot, some require 1-for-1. This will automatically disqualify many homeowners from participating, even if it's the perfect space inside for a new unit, which is already hard enough to find, especially those that are attached on both sides. In the East New York pilot, 25% of interested participants were disqualified solely on parking requirements. The city should waive parking requirements for the addition of new basement and cellar units. As the city grapples with solving both the affordable housing and homelessness crises, along with trying to fight climate change, the plan to retain such strict parking requirements seems to be a short-sighted hindrance to the city's stated goals and also at odds with them. Lastly, we call for the allowance of 7-foot ceilings when safe. The East New York pilot legislates that converted units must have a ceiling height of 7'6". However, the pilot has found that most basement ceilings are less than 7'6", and the cost of excavating to meet the 7'6" minimum is much too costly for the homeowners. There is a caveat in the legislation allowing for 7-foot ceilings if city agencies deem it okay, but so far it's clear they are not interested in using that caveat. We think there is a need for a stronger push to ensure agencies allow for 7-foot ceilings when safe. The call for 7-foot ceilings is not unprecedented. Current building code allows for habitable rooms and basements of single-family homes to have minimum heights of 7 feet. International building code allows for 7-foot ceiling minimums. For a future citywide program to be successful, the city must change the building code to allow for the approval of 7-foot ceilings with minimal protrusions when it is safe and efficient. We believe that it is more than possible to have 7-foot ceilings be the norm, not the exception. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rebecca. At this point, I'd like to turn it over to Leo Goldberg from CNYCN.
Hi, my name is Leo Goldberg. I'm the Senior Policy and Research Manager at the Center for New York City Neighborhoods. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to speak a little about the importance of creating an accessible experience for participants in a basement conversion program. This is the secret ingredient that's often overlooked in program design, and it deserves a little attention today. We need an experience that lowers barriers to entrance for the people who need the program most and sets them up for success. So part of that is going to be easy to understand, easy to access financing. Bringing basements up to code can be a costly process, and for that reason, we have to make sure that not only wealthy New Yorkers are able to undertake it. To make sure this is an equitable tool available to our low and moderate income homeowners, we need affordable and easy to understand financing suited to the tight budget and limited cash flow of a homeowner landlord. Convoluted lending products can not only confuse homeowners, but can be misleading and predatory, so clear terms and conditions are critical. As is low-cost or pro bono housing counseling. HUD-certified housing counselors help homeowners create a budget, understand the loan options so that they can make an informed decision. Ultimately, that informed decision is going to determine the success of the basement conversion. The experience of the Center for New York City Neighborhoods, whether we're talking about home repairs or storm recovery, energy efficiency, is that housing counseling makes programs like this work. The other piece we think will be really pivotal here is an office of small homes. So even beyond financing, basement conversion can be a complex process for homeowners. Most homeowners don't have the financial resources or familiarity with city regulations that professional multifamily landlords have. And many homeowners going through a conversion will become landlords for the first time. For the program to be a success, we can't have homeowners chasing down permits and approvals from several city agencies who are each communicating requirements and restrictions separately and working on their own timelines to process elements of the conversion process. Instead, we propose that the city create a single government office to service 1 to 4 unit building owners. An office of small homes would be a central source of information and support on basement conversions, but can also be a hub for the city's other small home facing programs. The office would fill a void in the city services by specializing in communicating with and providing support to the city's many tens of thousands of small building owners. And this is a major gap in our services today. And that's a problem, considering that there are about the same number of homeowner households in New York City as the total number of households, renters, and homeowners in Chicago. And that's far more than the total number of households in any other city in the country except LA. So while few of our city's services are geared in the direction of our homeowners and our small buildings, it's actually a really substantial universe. And that's of course why we're talking about the opportunity here of basement conversions across a really wide swath of the city. So I'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Leo. And then finally, I'd like to turn it over to William Spisak of Chhaya CDC, followed by Lori Miller of NHS of Jamaica.
Hi, everyone. My name is Will Spisak. I am the Director of Housing Justice at Chhaya CDC. Thank you all for joining us. I want to talk on kind of the last pillar of this blueprint, which is on affordability. We know that we could create the most elaborate program the city, bureaucracy can imagine. We can change all the codes and the zoning we want, but if we don't make a program that's affordable to both homeowners and creates affordable housing for tenants, we are not going to see this program implemented successfully. We will not see the homeowners of New York City want to take on this program. So the first point that we make is that implementing a basement conversion program requires that we provide low interest loans to homeowners. So BASE is actually calling on the city to create an equitable lending program that would allow low to moderate income households to convert their basements at minimal cost. The city should establish a sliding scale financing plan. They should provide evaporating loans, so forgivable loans for homeowners at 50% of area median income and below. We should provide interest-free loans to homeowners under 100% of area median income. And for folks above 100% of area median income, we expect that the city should create low interest, affordable financing programs for them. Creating a affordable lending program is essential for making sure that homeowners can convert these basement apartments into safe and legal units. But the last thing we want to do is create an unintended consequence where speculators and investors take advantage of these programs and create basement apartments that are no longer affordable. And one of the primary concerns that we hear from basement tenants is, I'm willing to give up my safety or live in these bad conditions if it means it stays affordable. But we don't believe that any tenant should have to choose between safety and decent living conditions and affordability. So we believe that that the city should create a program to protect the most vulnerable tenants and residents of New York City, our basement tenants who tend to be gig workers, low-income workers, frontline workers, seniors, undocumented residents. They should do this by creating a regulatory agreement with homeowners that take advantage of the program. So any homeowner that's benefiting from subsidized financing, zoning adjustments, building code accommodations, we believe should be able to pass on some of those benefits to the tenant. So we believe that finding a way to make it both sustainable and profitable for homeowners, primarily by providing affordable financing, should supplement and complement affordable housing options for tenants through regulatory agreements. And then the last thing is that we know that the biggest fear that homeowners have is getting hit with these ridiculous fines. We've seen homeowners come to Chhaya with $40,000 worth of fines after getting written up for various violations, most of which they had no idea would even be considered a violation. So if we don't create a program that allows homeowners to come forward, take advantage of this program, and forgive those violations, we know that homeowners are not going to participate. So we're calling on the city to create an amnesty program so that any homeowner with current violations, with a current tenant living in the basement, can step forward without the fear of potentially being issued financially crippling violations that can put them on the path to foreclosure. By doing this, we'll make sure that all homeowners that are interested in participating in the program step forward and take advantage of this, and we can make sure that every community in every neighborhood, every borough is able to take advantage of basement legalization. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Will. And Lori? I think you're muted.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for inviting us to participate this morning. Just wanted to share, as a nonprofit housing agency that works in the Southeastern Queens community, making home ownership and housing in general affordable is really important. We service folks who are trying to buy homes and are challenged by the cost of housing here in New York City. And so, anything that can be done to make purchasing a home and then being stable once you are a homeowner is really key to the strength and health of our neighborhoods. There are many homeowners in Southeastern Queens who are of very modest means, and they often do not have the resources that are necessary, to handle unexpected expenses or very large expenses, things such as, a broken sewer main. And for those folks to have the opportunity to have additional income to supplement working income or retirement income, really can go a very long way in terms of making home ownership stable for them. The other benefit is, as was said earlier, if we're not dealing with investors who are really in it just for the profit, it creates affordable housing for many. We have many multi-generational situations, young people who can't afford a market rate apartment, and so they are living with their families. And it would be nice to be able to have their own private space and have it, be affordable. So there are definitely benefits to being able to convert basements into safe and legal housing for the community. And we at NHS of Jamaica, are fully in support of any efforts to make this happen.
Thank you so much, Lori. At this point, I'd like to turn it back to Annetta Cichern.
Thank you. I want to thank all of our panelists for your outstanding work in getting us this far. So I'd like to now introduce State Assembly Member Khalil Anderson. Thank you so much for joining us today. We are so thrilled to have you at the state and really look forward to your partnership in all that needs to happen at the state level for basement legalization to truly be successful in New York City. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Anita, and thank you to all of my partners here at Chhaya. It's a great effort that we're leading, that you all are leading here to legalize basement apartments, to create real and true affordable housing by supporting small homeowners and in turn supporting tenants. I think this is a fantastic plan, and I am honored to be able to help push it across the finish line in any way possible that we can. Because in this moment where folks are facing tremendous amounts of housing insecurity, tremendous amount of rent burden, we really, really need to create alternatives for access to affordable housing. And this is one of the ways. I want to definitely, of course, shout out my colleagues who are on the call, who are doing the work. Councilwoman Adrienne Adams, who is my neighbor. We share the 28th in the 31st Assembly District. And of course, Harvey Epstein, who's always been on the forefront fighting for fair housing, fighting to make sure that we have access to real and affordable housing in his district and all across the city. You're also a member of the Housing Committee, so we definitely got to fight hard for this basement apartments plan. And also, this thing is a no-brainer. We're asking for pennies from the city to fund an idea that would create more affordable housing. And if the leaders of our city are serious about creating new units of affordable housing, we've got to invest in this program. And we've got to continue to invest in programs like this that are going to bring more units of affordable housing online, safe, reliable spaces where folks can live without having to worry about their safety, without having to worry about the imagery we see as it relates to basement apartments, right? When we think of a basement, you think it's cold, you think it's dark, but this program really helps get basements up to code so that they can be safe and reliable spaces for people to live in. So I 100% support this. I took the pledge to support this when I was a candidate, and I'm looking forward to seeing this program grow and expand, leave from the space of being a pilot to becoming a permanent program here in the city of New York. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I also want to say that Assemblymember Anderson was one of the earliest supporters of this campaign. So we are so grateful for your work and you championing this important effort. We were expecting Councilmember Brad Lander. I don't believe he's here yet. So I think we'll continue to the next section, and I'll pass it back to Jagpreet.
Thank you so much, Annetta. Thank you, Assemblymember Anderson. I remember you signing on to our pledge at our Jackson Heights office when we were in the good times. So really glad to have you as a longtime supporter. And I especially want to thank all of our panelists who spoke about our basement blueprint. It's really important for everyone here to really understand what it is that we're suggesting, what it is that we're really looking forward to hear. And I'm already getting texts about how the Office of Small Homes is a great idea. So I know this is going to be a successful program that we're looking to implement here. Now, I personally love maps. And I think visuals are a great way for us to really understand what the potential here is. So these two maps show the universe of buildings that have basements or cellars that could potentially be converted into legal apartments. Our first map on the left shows that there's about 209,000 potential units, which is based off of the parameters of the East New York pilot for eligibility. So again, that's within the zoning, the building codes that were set by the East New York pilot program. As you can see, there's, all 5 boroughs benefit from this. Brooklyn, definitely the heaviest. And even, lower parts of Staten Island and far points up in the Bronx. The second map shows the universe of potentially eligible buildings that can be expanded and increases it to almost 425,000 buildings if the city implements what we believe is the improved model. The improved model would use most of the same eligibility as East New York pilot, but would eliminate the floor area ratio requirements as they're related to sellers that are converted into legal units. As you can see, there's a lot of potential to bring affordable housing to neighborhoods, every neighborhood across this city, especially those that need it the most, like our neighborhoods in Southeast Queens and East Brooklyn and North Bronx and all across this city. This is not some far-fetched wide-sprung idea. This is a reality. If you take a look at just the maps themselves, it is almost every block in New York City that can benefit from the increase in basement apartments. Like with everything else, we'll be sharing this map with everybody who attended and RSVP'd as well. Checking real quick to see if Councilmember Lander has joined. If not, we'll just continue on with our program. So once again, thank you everybody for joining us. It's been an honor to see everybody here. And it's been an honor to see how this movement has grown in the last 2 decades. We went from not having a single city council candidate supporting our platform to candidates from every single borough and citywide candidates like those running for mayor attending our platform launch today. The next step is to sign on to our pledge. To all of you who've indicated you're interested in signing on to the pledge, we will send it to you no later than tomorrow. After you receive it, feel free to print it out, tweet it, Facebook it, or otherwise share your commitment with your community. For those of you here who are sitting elected officials, we call on you to step up if you have not already and champion this cause. We need your support to ensure that the funding to this pilot is restored and there's enough funding to bring this issue to the light. No matter who you are, we need to make sure that you are mentioning basement apartments and other accessory dwelling units when you talk about affordable housing. We need to elevate this conversation and this issue. We need you to talk to your constituents, your neighbors about this issue. As you've seen from the map, there's a lot of potential in every single council district in our city. The work needs to be done here and done now if we're going to legalize basements. So we encourage everybody who's attending, if you're running for office, if you're a candidate, to truly sign on to the pledge once you receive it, to make sure that you're sharing information about basement apartments, to make sure you're elevating this issue, and that's the only way we're going to get this done. We thank all of our panelists. We especially thank our homeowners who have, it's a challenge for homeowners especially to be able to come on and speak on this issue when basement apartments are still illegal. So we really thank our homeowners for coming up. We want to thank all the elected officials, and we want to thank all of you, candidates, media, and everybody else who attended our launch and platform launch. Like we said, we'll send out all of the information that was presented today to you via email. If you have any questions, you can feel free to contact us. But again, thank you for your time, and we hope you all have a great rest of your day.